Hello, anybody, and thanks for tuning in to Monday Morning Handicapping. This is a race forecast edition, and I'm going to be taking a look at the upcoming Grade 1 Arkansas Derby. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the field of horses in this race, look at their career thus far, take a look at their most recent race, and if there's anything of significance in those races, we'll watch the replay so that you can see firsthand of what exactly happened in their most recent race, and talk about their win prospects for the Arkansas Derby, which is a gateway to the Kentucky Derby on the first Saturday in May. So the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby will be the 13th race at Oaklawn Park, going 1.125 miles. Here's a little diagram of the race itself. They'll start here, run around both turns, and then finish back here at the end of the stretch. So the Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, what is it? The Arkansas Derby is the sixth to last Kentucky Derby qualifying race within the USA. I believe there's one race in Japan that qualifies for the Derby, as well as one race in the UAE, but there are only 6 races left to get Kentucky Derby points. Where does this race take place? In Hot Springs, Arkansas. How? It's a Grade 1. It's a 9 furlong race, or 1.125 miles. Remember, a furlong is 1/8 of a mile, so this is 9 furlongs. On the main dirt track for 3-year-old horses. The Kentucky Derby is only for 3-year-old horses, so all Kentucky Derby prep races are for 3-year-olds. When is it? Saturday, March 29, 2025 at approximately 4:48 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Why? Well, it's a $1.5 million purse. There are 100 points to the Kentucky Derby for first place, 50 to second, 25 to third, 15 to fourth, and 10 points to fifth, awarded to the 2025 Kentucky Derby. And roughly, you're going to need about 50 points to qualify for the Kentucky Derby. So the top 2 finishers will be in the Kentucky Derby if they choose to go to that race. Possibly the third place finisher, depending on how many points he has to this point, or how many points he can earn with the 5 remaining races after this race. Qualifying for the Kentucky Derby after this race gives the horse 35 days until the Kentucky Derby. Over the last 11 Kentucky Derbies, the average number of days to the winner's most recent start before the Kentucky Derby was 32. 3 of the last 11 Kentucky Derby winners ran in the Arkansas Derby. So I have a video, it's video number 0 of my Kentucky Derby playlist, where I break down the pace and the previous winners of the Kentucky Derby. And on average, horses made their last start before the Kentucky Derby 32 days before the Kentucky Derby. So for a horse to win this race, that puts him on track with the average of the last 11 Kentucky Derby winners in terms of how many days since their most previous race before the Kentucky Derby. So whoever wins this race or runs well, even look out for them to have enough rest to come in sharp for the Kentucky Derby. So here's a quick look at the field. You have the post positions, the names of the horses here, the morning line, or the guess of the odds that the horse will be once the race goes off. We have the trainers here and the jockeys riding them. Feel free to pause it here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this page, but here's a look at the 9-horse field in this year's Arkansas Derby. Taking a look at horse number 1, Breerton's Baytown, 30 to 1 on the morning line. This horse's career so far has 10 starts, 2 wins, no second or thirds, with $86,000 in earnings. Notable wins was a claiming race for $40,000 at Laurel Park, going 8.5 furlongs on dirt. So that's 1.116 miles on the dirt. This race again is 1.125 miles, so a little bit further, 1/16 of a mile further. This horse's running style, mid-pack to a closer. However, it did break its maiden stalking in a sprint race. And of course, a maiden race are races for horses that have never won a race. So when this horse won its very first race, it was a sprint race. I believe it was 6 furlongs, so 3/4 of a mile, going around one turn, and was up near the front in that race. But since going to routes, more of a mid-pack to a closer type, likes to run from behind. This horse's most recent race was the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn Park, going 8.5 furlongs on the dirt. This horse finished 8th out of 13. At the start, this horse was number 12, so on the outside. Breaks casually, not too fast, but not really slow. Gets down around the 2 to 3 pass, so kind of down near the rail, about 2 or 3 horses width off of the rail, near the back in the clear, so no traffic. Here's the race pace. So the leaders ran this fast throughout the race, and the eventual winner finished with this time. However, this horse ran these fractions for each quarter mile: 25.73 to the quarter, 49.65 to the half, 1:13 to the 3/4, and then the final 5/16, because it's 1.116 miles. This horse ran in 1 minute 45 seconds, 0.02, and you can see the winner was about 2 seconds faster. This time here is the time that this horse ran the final 5/16 of a mile, and you can compare this with other horses in the field, how fast they're closing at this 1.16 miles distance, the final 5/16 of a mile. Just some notes on this horse's trip this race. It was a clean trip, was far back throughout the race, saved ground around the turns, so it was down near the rail on both turns, never really threatened for the lead. And the stretch angled out and made up some ground on tiring rivals, so wasn't really threatening for the win, but was passing some of those horses that were in front of him early that just got a little bit tired late. Some takeaways from this horse: looks to be in above its head in this race, would need to improve, needs to have a fast pace to chase and let those leaders get tired for this horse to kind of pick up the pieces and run by them when they're tired. But the added distance looks to be a positive, however, would not consider a win contender. Horse number 2, a horse named First Division, 20-1 on the morning line. This horse's career: 3 career starts, 1 win, 1 second, 1 third, with $80,000 in earnings. Notable wins was its debut first ever race, a maiden race, optional claimer at Oaklawn Park, going 6 furlongs on dirt, so 1 on debut sprinting. This running style for this horse is a closer, so will be running from back of the pack. Last race was an allowance optional claimer at Oaklawn Park, so at this track, going 8.5 furlongs on the dirt. This horse was second of 6 in his last start. At the start, this horse was number 7. Significant bobble at the start, settles in last, 3 to 4 path entering the turn in the clear, so no traffic in his way. Pace of the race by the leaders and the fractions that this horse ran, pause it if you want to compare. This was the final 5:16, so much quicker than the first horse we looked at. Trip notes: rushes up a bit entering the backstretch, makes move entering far turn, splits horses around the turn to get in contention. Into the stretch, rallied in 4 path entering, came in slightly on rivals, meaning this horse sort of veered in and nearly bumped rivals if not made contact. Looked a winner but lost steam. Takeaways: may have lost some late punch by missing the break and making his move from farther back. Curious to see his rally with a clean break and closer to the front early. Looks to have a solid late kick, will be only his 4th start. This jockey is known to like to save ground, so I expect him to be saving ground, which should benefit him. I would consider this horse for exotic bets such as exactas and trifectas, but this is a horse where I want to take a look at the replay and just show some of the trouble that he had. Now watch R7, really bobbles at the break, but also the number 2 horse in this race that we're watching. See that bad start? This 2 horse is the 4 horse in this race that we're watching, so just watch the trip difference between the 2 and the 7. The 7 is First Division. The 2 breaks clean and is just stalking the leader. The 7 misses the break, is far back early and going a little bit wider around the turns. The 2 just comfortably stalking this leader. No horses immediately. 2's outside, out in the clear. You can see our 7 up top here, sort of rushing up a little bit, using a little bit of that precious energy to get a little bit closer very early in the race. The 2 just sitting comfortably after that nice clean break. Our 7 up top just seems to have found a pace he likes. Not really making up more ground, but rushed up just a little bit, it looked like, entering this backstretch. The 2 sticking with this leader, not letting him get far away. Here comes our 7. Not quite making his move yet. The 2 is really being asked to pick it up. Here comes our 7 making his move. Making up lots of ground. And in this stretch run, our 7 horse is going to go around these other horses, covering more ground. Looks to be a winner, but ends up not actually winning the photo finish. So here comes our 7. Remember, he missed that break, kind of rushed up a little bit, used some of that energy. This 1 cuts off the 2. The 7 looks like he's just going to pass everyone by, but this 2 rallies back in between horses to win the race. I don't know how the 7 ends up losing, but he loses right there. Number 3 Publisher, 6-1 on the morning line. 6 career starts, no wins, so still a maiden. 1 second and 3 thirds with $138,000 in career earnings. Notable wins, again, none, but was 4th in the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn Park, going 8.5 furlongs. Running style, a closer, so will be coming from back of the pack. Last race was the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn Park, going 8.5 furlongs on dirt. Finished 4th out of 13 in that race. At the start, number 6, breaks okay, slight check. 2 path between horses near the back entering the turn. Here's the race pace of the leaders and the pace that this horse ran, finishing 31.43. Compare it with the others. The trip relatively clean throughout, near back of the first flight of runners, so there were kind of 2 groups of horses in this race, and this horse was near the back of that first group of runners. 2 to 3 path around both turns, so not on the rail, but pretty close to it, not losing much ground. In the stretch, slight check entering, had to wait, squeezed and bumped significantly in the stretch. Third place finisher cuts in front during the stretch, so there's a horse that gets in his way that ended up finishing third, but stayed on throughout even with all this trouble in the stretch. Takeaways from this horse: this maiden had significant traffic issues entering and throughout the stretch. This horse stayed on and was making up some ground on the leaders, could finish better with the cleaner trip, adds blinkers for this race, so a little equipment on the horse's head just to keep his eyes focused on what's going on in front of him. Maybe that adds a little bit more speed. Maybe he just runs a little more professionally. And top jockey Flavian Pratt stays aboard this horse. Even though it is a maiden, it still retains the top jockey and is a contender for exotics at 6-1. So I want to watch this full replay and watch some of that trouble that I mentioned. So we're horse number 6. A little bit of trouble, a little bit of tight early. See, kind of checks there a little bit. This 5 just gets right out in front of him. Just kind of settling back here. Jockey's not desperate to get him up closer. A little bit tight here. Almost bumps this gray horse who's inside. Now horse is right in front of him, so he can't really pick up his speed. Seems to want to just opt to stay down near the rail. I'm going to fast forward a little bit because this horse is out of the picture. He's so far back for most of the race. Now we can see our 6 at the back of the first flight of runners here. Again, staying down near the rail, saving ground, is far back, so will need to save ground. Now he's got to navigate through traffic, and this is where a lot of his trouble comes into play. Keep an eye on the jockey's cap color, the white shirt with the dark cap. Right here, kind of red on the shoulders. This is where he's going to face significant bumping. So he's weaving through horses, gets real tight here, bumped, squeezed, and then this great white horse cuts right in front of him. Wasn't going to bump into him, but does certainly get in his path. So that tightness, and you can see he's finishing strongly here, but that bumping, that squeezing really cost some of his momentum. And I just think with a cleaner trip, without that bumping, maybe he doesn't win the race, but probably a lot closer, and did seem to be gaining late in the race. So I think without that slowdown of momentum, this horse could have been a little bit closer late in the race. And also in this Arkansas Derby, they are going a 1/16 of a mile longer, and that could help his running style coming from back. Here's another replay of the pinching, the bumping. Number 4, Best Friend Rocket. Again, this was that horse that we watched 2 replays ago where the 2 horse in the middle was getting a little tight, looked like he wasn't going to win, but then did end up winning that race. So I don't think we're going to be watching that replay again. If you want to go back and watch that horse that was in the middle, feel free. But this is Best Friend Rocket, 20-1 on the morning line. 6 career starts, 3 wins with the third, $142,000 in earnings. Won 3 of his last 4 races. Notable wins: an allowance optional claimer at Oaklawn Park, going 8.5 furlongs on the dirt. So jumping up to a grade 1, this is a big step up in class. Running style, stalking. I think this horse will be up closer to the front than some of the others in this race. His last race was an allowance optional claimer at Oaklawn Park, going 8.5 furlongs on the dirt. First out of 6 horses. That was that replay that we watched where he won that photo finish. Start number 2, breaks clean, stalks leader to his inside by 1 length, 2 path entering the turn. Again, we watched the replay, got that really clean trip. Here's the race pace. Here's the pace that this horse ran. Again, just barely stalking that leader. 31.29 for the final 5/16. Just some trip notes that I've gathered from watching the replay. Urged from the far turn, so this horse was under a ride, asking to pick it up by the jockey for quite a ways. Clean trip until the stretch. Chased the leader from second place throughout, so this horse was pretty much always in second place until that stretch run where there was some bumping. He was in tight, and the original leader seemed to have got in his way just a little bit. In the stretch, the leader cuts him off in deep stretch. The other threat comes up on the outside, putting this horse between rivals, stays on task, and grinds out a gutty victory. Takeaways: this horse ran its best figure last race in his 3-year-old debut. This race was the first time for a new trainer and first time at Oaklawn Park, so that's something noteworthy. First time with new trainer at this track, seemed to perform very well. Got a very clean trip, stalked the lone leader, and barely got by him in the end. Looked to be getting passed by the other favorite. Again, that's the number 2 in this Arkansas Derby, but somehow wins with some late traffic issues. However, I am hesitant to place this horse in the top 3 in the Arkansas Derby. Number 5, Speed King, 15-1 on the morning line. 4 career starts, 2 wins as second, no thirds, with $700,000 in earnings. Notable wins: the Grade 3 Southwest Stakes at Oaklawn Park, going 8.5 furlongs on the dirt, and I believe he wired the field, so went to the lead early and no horse was able to pass him. Running style, speed, and it's kind of a need to lead on the lead type. His last race was the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn Park, going 8.5 furlongs on the dirt. This horse finished 10th out of 13. Start, he was horse number 11, broke clean, was in a four-way battle for the lead, 5-path entering the turn, so going wide around the first turn. Again, here's the pace that the leader set in that race, and this horse set this pace, so a little bit off of those leaders. Finished the final 5/16 in 34.15, so quite a bit slower than some others we've already looked at. The trip takes back by 5 to 6 lengths entering the backstretch, so right after the first turn, creeps up nearing the far turn, runs up behind horses and needs to steer back outside, 3 to 4 path entering the stretch, so a little bit wide on both turns, which is just losing ground, and has a little bit of traffic, nothing too drastic, but kind of just has to navigate around horses into that second turn. And the stretch run between horses in the stretch, part of that 4 horses that were bumping and eventually squeezed back looked too tired to continue at this point, so entering the stretch really didn't look like he was going to be threatening for the win or even going to be making up ground on the leaders. Takeaways: did not run well. First time not getting the lead. Again, this horse is an on the lead, need the lead type. This was the first time this horse didn't get the lead and really did not perform well. Looks like this horse will have to contend with number 9 in this race, Cornucopian, for the lead in the Arkansas Derby. Had been run down by number 8, Coal Battle, who's in this race previously with the lead. So Speed King got the lead in a race, a lone lead relatively, and Coal Battle is still able to run him down and just looks to be a need the lead type. I'm hesitant to place this horse in the top 4. Number 6, Sandman, 3 to 1 on the morning line. 7 career starts, 2 wins, a second, 2/3 with $445,000 in earnings. Notable wins: an allowance optional claimer at Oaklawn Park, going 8 furlongs, which is 1 mile on the dirt. Running style, definite closer. Last race, the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn Park, going 8.5 furlongs on the dirt. Horse finished 3rd of 13. Start, this is horse number 3, breaks clean, saves ground on the rail entering the turn. Pace of the race, and this horse's fractions, finishes up in 31.45. The trip, pretty clean trip throughout, a bit between horses in the far turn, but nothing serious, just a little tight. And the stretch, 7-path entering the stretch, so well off of the rail, definitely running a further distance of ground. The closer you are to the rail, the smaller circle you're running around the track. So for every path out wider you are than another horse, that equates to about 1 length around the entire course of a turn. So going in the 7th path is significant ground loss. Veers in and out a couple of paths throughout the stretch, so not running professionally and in a straight line, kind of coming in and out, but is making up ground quickly on the leader, just runs out of time. So again, this race is a little bit further, and that could help this horse out. Some takeaways: is known to have issues breaking from the gate, will need a clean break. Not sure this race will have as fast of a pace, but the added distance should help this runner. New jockey aboard, will be running late. Contender for exotics, sneaky win contender above morning line odds. I would not be interested in betting this horse to win at 3 to 1, but if he drifts up a little bit, maybe 5 or 6 to 1, I might consider a win bet, but at 3 to 1, not so much. Could win, but I'd like to get a little higher odds. Now I want to take a look at the stretch run for number 6, Sandman, from that Grade 2 Rebel Stakes. So here's Sandman. If you look up top, follow my cursor, the big gray horse, hard to miss. Here he is, a little bit tight in between horses, doesn't really get his momentum stop, but just maybe a little bit uncomfortable. The 7 horse who's outside goes by, which allows Sandman to go around him. So again, about the 7 path here. And here he comes with his run. Watch him veer in and out. So he's swerving a little bit, sort of cuts off these horses that were bumping. He's going down near the rail, comes back out. Doesn't look like he's going to get close to winning, but here he kicks it into gear, starts really making up ground on those horses. Once he straightens out, just runs out of time. And again, the Arkansas Derby will be a 1/16 of a mile further, so maybe that helps Sandman get to the finish line first. Here you can actually see he does win the gallop out, so still a little bit of stamina in the tank is what that's telling me. Number 7, Monet's Magic, 20 to 1 on the morning line. 7 career starts, 2 wins, a third with $206,000 in career earnings. Notable wins: allowance optional claimer at Oaklawn Park, going 8 furlongs on the dirt. Running style, closer. Last race was the Grade 3 Southwest Stakes at Oaklawn Park, going 8.5 furlongs on the dirt. Finished 5th of 9. Start, he's the number 3 horse, breaks clean, gets down to the rail entering the turn. A little bit tight, there's a slight bump. Here's the pace of the race by the leaders and the fractions that this horse ran. Finish up the final 5/16 in 33.01. Trip led the second flight of runners, about 8 lengths off the trio of leaders, so there were 3 horses sort of vying for the lead. This horse was leading the second group of horses by about 8 lengths off of the first place horse. blocked halfway around the far turn. So when we watch the replay, we'll look for this horse's momentum to stop. And the stretch made up ground after being stopped, went on as well as anyone else in the stretch. So we look at the other horses around him. How fast are they running? This horse was going as well as anyone else. Takeaways: significant loss of momentum in the far turn, ran on well after regaining his momentum. Curious to know how well this horse could run without that trouble. Finished 2 3/4 lengths off of eventual Louisiana Derby winner Tiztastic. Will need a pace setup and added distance should help. Has one from post 11 with Machado aboard, so I don't think the outside post being in post 7 is an issue. Gets a familiar jockey aboard. Odds to win are intriguing, but is more of an exotics contender. At 20 to 1, I think you should get all of that. I might be interested in betting to win, but certainly will be on my exotics ticket. So let's take a look at his full replay and look at some of that trouble he faced. So we're horse number 3. Breaks fine, gets down near the rail, saving ground. Again, not running as far of a distance as the horses that are out wider. Gets a little bit tight here. This 4 horse looks like it comes down and bumps him. And I do believe that is Tiztastic, who was the Louisiana Derby winner after this race. Horse is in a relatively comfortable spot down on the rail. A little bit tight, but doesn't seem to be bothering the horse at all. Remember, when watching races, take note of the jockey's cap color as well as the shirt color. It kind of helps see where they're at when they're all packed together. Now you can see this trio of leaders up top here. This horse is leading the second flight of runners. The leaders get out to about 8 lengths roughly. 8 lengths ahead of Monet's Magic. And watch, as we go into this far turn, we'll watch number 3, Monet's Magic, really get stopped in his tracks. This horse in front of him just doesn't get out of the way. You can see the jockey right here quit riding, and it's kind of pulling up a little bit. Has to stop, wait for room. Gets out in the clear now. Jockey starts asking him to pick it up again. And watching the stretch relative to the other runners, how this horse is matching speed with the other runners around him. Down here on the inside. Kind of veering out a little bit. Gets back into gear. See, the other horses aren't really running away from him. He may even be making up a little bit of ground, but just had his momentum stopped around that turn. Finishes the race out strongly. Again, about 2 3/4 lengths off of that 4 horse who did come back and win the Louisiana Derby. Take a look at number 8, Coal Battle, 7 to 2 on the morning line. 7 career starts, 5 wins, no seconds or thirds, with $1.1 million in earnings. Won his last 4 races and is 5 for 5 on the dirt. Has never lost on the dirt, either wet or dry. Notable wins: the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes, which is the prep race for this Arkansas Derby. The Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn Park, going 8.5 furlongs on dirt. I'm sure by now you've noticed lots of horses are coming out of this Rebel Stakes. Running style: this horse is very versatile. Everybody knows about this horse now. A mid-pack closer, but has won wire to wire against softer company before, so when it needs to go to the lead it can, but is typically a mid-pack closer. Not going to be coming from last, but somewhere in the middle. Last race was the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn Park. Start: he's the number 1 horse, break sharp, 2 to 3 path entering the turn, in the clear behind 4 front runners. In the clear just meaning no traffic issues. Pace of the race: the fractions that this horse ran finished up in 31.61. The trip: commences his move with about 5/8 of a mile to go, quickly passes horses around the far turn that is, 4 wide around the far turn to contend for the lead, on terms with the leader entering the stretch. And the stretch continues to pull away from the leader, giving up some ground to Sandman and Publisher, who are closing on this horse, who are also in this Arkansas Derby. Takeaways: tremendous performance for this horse to sustain his move for about 5/8 of a mile and have enough stamina left to secure the win. Got a favorable pace to make such an effort, but has also been victorious with less favoring paces. Serious win contender here. So what I mean by that is this horse was being asked to go for the lead with 5/8 of a mile left in the race just about, and the fact that this horse was able to sustain that bid for the lead for that long of a distance and pass some very talented runners just tells me that this horse is very talented. So let's look at another replay of the Rebel Stakes, focusing on number 1, Coal Battle. Number 8 in this race, but will be number 1 in the Rebel Stakes. So horse number 1. Breaks sharply, gets out quickly, gets to save ground, stay near the rail. Doesn't opt to go on the rail, but about 2 to 3 path, 2 or 3 horse widths off the rail. It's just stalking these 4 front runners here. This is Speed King on the outside here that need the lead type. And you can see Coal Battle up top. He's about to get left off the screen just because it is such a quick pace. The number one here off the screen now, but watch when this horse really starts to pick it up, how much race there is left to go and how long this horse sustains his bid. Look, you can already see him making up ground on the leaders, not all out, but definitely has increased his speed. He's really catching up to the first pack, goes outside of these horses around the turn, so going a little bit wider. Jockey's in the yellow shirt. He's about to appear on the bottom of the screen on the outside. Here he comes in the red cap, still cruising, still making that move, still running faster than any other horse on the screen. Using that stamina, gets up on terms with his Bob Baffert trainee, who's got a relatively lone lead, on terms entering the stretch, and the race is on. Let's see how much stamina this horse has left. Is looking very good. It's just fighting it out. This other horse is game, but Coal Battle just so much left in the tank. The Sandman making up ground, but Coal Battle just game, wins by over a length in the end. That was just a very impressive move from so far back to sustain that and hold off all the late charging runners late. Doing fine in the gallop out, not too far off of some of those closers. Just a really tremendous performance. And the final runner, number 9, Cornucopian, 7-5 on the morning line. 1 career start, 1 win with $66,000 in earnings. Notable wins, his only start, a maiden special weight. Again, maiden races are for horses that have never won a race. So a definite step up in class from a maiden race to a grade 1, which is the top level of racing in the United States. At Oaklawn Park, going 6 furlongs on the dirt, so a sprint race, and now he's going to a mile and an eighth around 2 turns. Running style, certainly a speed or on the lead type. Last race was at maiden special weight at Oaklawn Park, going 6 furlongs. First of 10 horses in that field. This horse won wire to wire. At the start, this horse was number 7, Breaks Sharp. Gets to the lead by about a length. Gets down toward the rail, so saves ground going into that first turn. Here's the pace that this horse ran. He was the wire-to-wire winner, so the race pace is the same as this horse. 21.86, 45.50, 109.02 finishing. A final quarter mile time of 23.52. Trip saves ground around turn, faced some pressure in the turn, but was never headed. In the stretch, after a quick opening fractions, this horse had plenty stamina left on debut. Again, first race ever, and ran away from the rest of the field to win by 5 3/4 lengths. Takeaways, very fast, $1.1 million horse for one of the top trainers in the country, Bob Baffert. Speed King will be a key horse in this race, the Arkansas Derby. If Speed King duels with this horse, who's taking a big step up in class and distance, it can set up for another runner such as Coal Battle. This horse should be able to handle the distance based on the trainer and the pedigree of this horse, but it's a lot to ask for and is only his second career start, a curious win contender. I will not be shocked if he wins, but I think there's enough question marks where if you want to fade this horse, I would not blame you. And again, I think what Speed King does in this race, the tactics he employs will be key to how this race shapes up. So let's just take a look at the stretch run of Cornucopian. So here's Cornucopian, number 7, jockey with the yellow cap. You can see he's down on the rail. Jockey's barely pushing on the reins. This horse is trying to get by. Can't do it. Runs very straight in the stretch on debut, very professional. One tap of the whip and see this horse just kick away from the rest of the field. Very quick fractions you can see up top, and this horse just has so much stamina left, just blowing this field away. Very impressive performance. But taking that big step up, going around 2 turns for the first time. Horse is very impressive and definitely wins the gallop out. So all that being said, my plays for consideration, my top pick is going to be number 8, Coal Battle, 7-2 on the morning line. Any play I might do might be a cheap 10-cent superfecta with Coal Battle on top in first place, with the 3, 6, 7, 9 in second, with those same horses 3, 6, 7, 9 in third, and with the 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, so adding the 2 and the 4 in fourth place to round out my superfecta for a total wager of $4.80. This is a race where I'm definitely going to be a fan and watching, but if Coal Battle runs his race and runs as well as he has looked in the past, I think he can win this race. I think there's some prices that can run second, third, and fourth underneath. Hopefully get that 9 out of the top 4 would pay a lot more, but you got to respect the horse. This horse could win. Definitely could run second, third, or fourth, so he is included on my tickets, but adding some prices underneath. Just some notes overall about the race. I'm curious to see if the number 9 will handle the distance and class test in first asking to do so. Number 9 is the morning line favorite and has all the markings of a horse that will be short odds. So even with all the question marks surrounding him, this horse is going to be taking money. I think 7-5 is about right. Coal Battle ran down a fast Baffert horse last time out. Remember that stretch run where he battled it out? That was a very fast Baffert horse who was relatively alone on the lead, and Coal Battle ran him down from 5/8 of a mile out and done it and won very impressively. There are plenty of classy closers with more experience under their belts to come running late, which is why I'm not singling the 9 in second. I think there are other horses that will appreciate the mile and an eighth, have more races under their belt, more experience, and are maybe just a little bit more professional going around 2 turns. So I think some of them could get up for second. My most likely prediction is the stretch run looks similar to the Grade 2 Rebel Stakes. So if you remember the replay of the Rebel Stakes when we watched Coal Battle, just that battle in the stretch between him and another Baffert horse where all the closers were trying to get to them. I think that this race could play out similarly where the 9 or the 8 win. I just think that it's going to be reminiscent of that Rebel Stakes, but I'm not going to get too heavily invested. I'm going to be rooting for Coal Battle and hope to catch a long shot underneath. So that would be my simple play for the Arkansas Derby. Thanks to anybody for watching. Please like, subscribe, and or share with friends. I say it all the time, but I'm trying to attend to a newer audience to horse racing. So if I oversimplify things or it sounds simple enough, I'm just trying to explain things so that everyone can understand while getting my point across. If you know anyone that might be interested in horse racing, I have a couple of playlists that are sort of dedicated to people that are interested. One is how to read a racing form, where I break down the racing form into bite-sized pieces and just simply explain what it's telling you, how to decipher it. And I also have a betting on horse racing playlist where I break down all the bets, how to place them, how much they cost depending on ticket structure, and also what I look for when I'm placing such bets. So if you know anyone, again, that's interested in horse racing, please share those playlists with them. Thanks to everybody for watching, getting lots of good feedback. Looking forward to the Arkansas Derby. Good luck to everybody playing, and I'll see you next time.